Hi, I'm Gordo with Get Your Hands Dirty. Welcome to our Get Your Hands Dirty gardening series, Container Gardening. Our videos offer advice on how to grow your own vegetables and herbs simply, easily, and economically right at home. Nothing is more rewarding or tastier than homegrown vegetables and herbs. You can grow almost anything in the right container. Even root crops can grow in a container. Turnips, beets. We've even grown a bounty of various sweet potatoes. Varieties of carrots in both large containers, 20 to 30 gallons, and small containers, 5 to 7 gallons, as well as herbs from basil to sage. This bok choy and this zucchini flourished in containers. We got a bounty of pole and bush beans from our containers. To know if container gardening is right for you, let's look at some pros and cons. We begin with the pros. They're easier to maintain. There's no tilling, less weeding, able to grow in smaller places like porches, backyards, or windowsills, and easier to get to in containers on raised platforms. There's less bending and stooping and fewer animal pests. And of course, like anything, there are cons. While it doesn't have to be pricey, there is an initial cost. You need to find the right type of container size. It needs to be food grade if plastic, or a non-toxic material. And containers take more watering. Because of a smaller area, containers produce less than in-ground gardens. Now, if you're still interested and if you're ready to move forward, let's get started. To be successful, first make a plan. Decide, what do I want to grow and why? First, select vegetables and herbs you and your family enjoy eating. Research the types you want to grow. All too often, we want to try exotic or unusual varieties and are disappointed when the plant fails to grow because of regional climate conditions like heat, humidity, length of growing seasons, pest, or disease. Next, what is my budget? Yeah, there's a bit of a startup to do container gardening, but not as much as you think. We'll give you a detailed cost later in this video. Which supplies will I need? Surprisingly, very few. We'll provide a starter list shortly. Then, as part of your plan, know your growth season and region. Some plants may take a longer growing season. They may not be the best for where you live. Which plants should or should not be grown together? Some plants feud and don't make good neighbors. Crops like peppers and cabbage and sage and cucumbers should never be planted together and will cause numerous problems from spreading disease, attracting pests to cross-pollinating, and stunting growth. Good garden buddies provide super benefits. They hide scents, provide shade, repel bugs, and add soil nutrients. Some of those examples are tomatoes and basil, cabbage and thyme that benefit from being neighbors. Once your garden takes off, what are your plans when plants begin producing? At times it can be overwhelming when your garden begins producing more than your family can consume. Simple ideas include canning, vacuum sealing, sharing with family, friends, neighbors, food pantries, and selling at area farmer markets. And yes, you can produce that much excess. The final step of your plan should be, where is the best place for a garden? Ideally, the best place to have a container garden is a flat, sunny spot close to a water source in your home. Also, the amount of sunlight and container placement are very important. 6 to 8 hours of early daylight during hotter months, usually 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. During hotter months, consider partial shade or shade cloths. Choose a spot with afternoon shade if you live in a very hot region. Now, during cooler months, 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. works best. Flat and stable ground. Set pots on flat patios, decks, or firm soil near water. Keep pots close to a hose or tap. Place your containers near a door or kitchen so you will remember to check and harvest them often. How much time do I plan working my garden? Remember, while containers take less time for upkeep, they still need watering, pest inspection, fertilizing, and grooming to give proper care and have a productive season. You need to plan on spending 60 seconds to 2 minutes per container to adequately take care of each container. And don't overdo in size. Start small and grow. What if I put all this effort into a garden and it fails? Fails you will. You'll have failures. You will make mistakes. Count on it. Learn from them. Before you plant your first seed or transplant your first plant, read. Read gardening sources, ask questions of other gardeners, join social media groups, research. Gather as much information from reputable sources on what you want to grow. And importantly, keep a journal. Record what you did, when and how you did it. Record your success and your failures. After numerous failures, inventor Thomas Edison said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." When we learn from our failures, we will succeed. We only fail when we stop learning. You ready to get your hands dirty? Well, let's get growing. Let's start with the right type of container. Not all are safe for growing food for human consumption. Recommended are food-grade pails, ceramic, and porta-cotta pots, untreated lumber, fabric grow bags, and our least favorite because of rusting, some metal containers. And please note, with grow bags, they require more watering. Here's a list of non-recommended and recommended food-grade plastic containers. And choose the right container because depending on what you're growing will tell you how deep of a container you'll need. If you want to get your hands dirty and get growing, here's what you need. Food-grade containers, a drill, 1/4-inch drill bit for 5 to 7 gallon containers, or a 3/8 to 1/2-inch drill bit for 8 to 30 gallon containers, a bag of organic non-dyed mulch, or garden limbs, twigs, and leaves, a bag of topsoil, and compost manure and fertilizer. Some businesses are glad to give you free or at little cost their used containers. Here's where to look. Check out bakeries, go to restaurants, try box stores, and even coffee shops. For your larger containers, livestock producers and farmers use food-grade tubs. They're usually 20 to 30 gallons in size. Now that you have a plan and your supplies, you can start. For this demonstration, we're using an unscented food-grade cat litter container. Yes, they are food-graded and have been thoroughly cleaned. You can see on the bottom of the pail the food-grade triangle is number 5. Then you need to drill 5 to 6 holes in the bottom of the pail from the inside out to assure burrs don't obstruct water drainage. Also drill 1 hole on the side of the pail about 1.5 inches from the bottom. Depending on what you're growing, in this particular case, we filled the bottom of this container with organic mulch about 12 to 14 inches from the top to use for bell peppers. There are simple and free alternatives to commercial bag mulch. It's free and it's found right in your own backyard. Leaves, twigs, and branches. To fill our container, we mix 3 parts of good topsoil to 1 part compost manure and add a small amount of time-release fertilizer like 888 depending on the quality of the topsoil and compost manure. And now this is what you can expect to pay initially for your first container. It'll run you about $12 depending on the local cost of materials. If you buy all your supplies, note you will have leftover topsoil, compost, manure, mulch, and fertilizer, which will drop your cost for additional containers. Now, if you go with scavenging some of your supplies with a free container using yard leaves, twigs, and limbs, that cost drops to only about $3 to $4 each. And again, you will have leftover topsoil, compost, manure, which will drop your cost even more for additional containers. Here are a few things that may help you decide on whether or not to do a container garden. Remember, while store-bought produce is more convenient and sometimes more attractive, it may also contain any of the following: pesticides, insecticides, herbicides, and fungicides, along with wax coatings as well as disinfectants. A study by the United States Department of Agriculture showed that nearly 70% of 48 different conventional produce samples that were sold, tested, and were contaminated with residue of 1 or more pesticides. When you grow your own vegetables, you know what you're eating. We hope you enjoyed our How to Do video and hope to do even more. We welcome your thoughts and ideas, and if you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to contact us. We welcome your thoughts and ideas. If you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to contact us on Facebook, The Good Seed, Get Your Hands Dirty, GYHD, or by email, getyourhandsdirty@myyahoo.com. Thanks for joining me. I'm Gordo.